concept, where he defined 4 items which were the foundation for his development of the entire society, which he encapsulated in those 7 principles that make up the activities of ISKCON. Where he posted them in 26 Avenue. So, and of course in those 7, these 4 principles are there. What were the 4 principles or 4 focuses of Prabhupada's mission? Was holy books, writing and printing, distributing Krishna conscious literature, translating. Harinam Sankirtan, Lord Chaitanya's direction for Yuga Dharma, for spreading the holy name. If you see the old Back to Godhead magazines, you'll see practically everyone was filled with different places around the US where Harinam Sankirtan was being performed. So that was a big part of the whole development. In fact, that was the first part. Books came second. And then education, educating his devotees in the science of Krishna consciousness, in the practice of Krishna consciousness, based on Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Nectar Devotions, and Sri Upanishads were his main books that he taught from. And he developed, Chaitanya Charitamrita, which was at that time called Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. So these are the books that we first had, and Prabhupada was preaching, giving classes mostly on all of these 4 or 5 main shastra. But Prabhupada had another part of his mission, and this is what we'll hear about today. So we can begin. So, where is that? Manor? Bhaktivedanta Manor? Okay. Without the cushion. Oh, the cushion's there somewhere. Okay. Is it working? It's not working.
Should I change it from that?
Check the computer and see why it's not working. The light doesn't even work either. Okay, let's see if the light works now. No, the light doesn't. This is not working. Maybe needs new battery. Light, see if the light works. The light's the top one. Yeah, okay. So, the next, someone wants to read?
This is the next aspect of Krishna consciousness which I wish to push forward. On these farms, we can demonstrate the full Varnashrama system. If these farms become successful, then the whole world will be enveloped by Krishna consciousness.
And so this was the 4th part of Prabhupada's mission, which he penned in that treatise called Gita Nagari Concept. And so, I'll read something. Between the year 1965 and 1977, Prabhupada wrote many books, opened up hundreds of centers, initiated thousands of disciples, traveled around the world almost 14 times at that time. He was non-stop. I think Shrutakirti can tell you how hard it was, even for the young fledgling bhaktas, to keep up with Prabhupada. He would travel with his devotees, and wherever he was, he would begin that part of the day at that time. And then the devotees want to take rest. Prabhupada said, "You're so young, why are you tired?" Prabhupada was on another level. And so, but by 1977, he was starting to feel difficulty in continuing what he was doing. So he returned to Vrindavan and started to translate the Bhagavatam. Prabhupada said, "My days are numbered." When a disciple asked Srila Prabhupada, "Do you have any regrets?" This is 1977. Prabhupada said, he acknowledged, he said, "I have one lamentation." And then the devotee took a guess. "You haven't finished Srimad Bhagavatam." Prabhupada said, "No, I have not established Varnashrama." So that was his regret. So now, this was the last part of his mission, which he tried to develop even from the year 1974 onward, but he started to really push it in 1977. Okay, next slide. So what do we have here?
Kshatriya Vaishya Sutra.
Who are they?
Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra.
Yeah, okay. These are the Vaishyas, right? Or these are these are the Vaishyas, and these are the Sudras. Chaturvanya Maya Srista Gunakarma Vibhagasaha. Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad Gita that these four swadharmas, or natural instincts of the conditioned soul, are inherent, and that inheritance is there everywhere in the world. Not just in one place or in India, but everywhere. Krishna created the system that there are four types of people, like that. But although Prabhupada pushed this later, we didn't really take it seriously. And we'll get to a reason why we didn't take it seriously. It's not because we didn't take it seriously. We were confused how to carry on the mission in terms of Prabhupada's instruction for Varnashrama, although he did explain some basic things like this. So, Varnashrama, there's four kinds of Varnashrama. Okay, here, we're mentioning that verse.
In the Bhagavad Gita 4.13, Lord Krishna teaches, according to these modes of material nature and the work associated with them, the four divisions of human society are created by me. As the parts of the body work together to serve the whole, so in Varnashrama, four broad vocational groups cooperate to serve the social body.
Yeah. So this Varnashram is material, but it's a stepping stone, it's a gateway to proper practice of spiritual life. So Prabhupada saw the world was upside down, so he didn't think it was possible to actually do it within the social environment. So he directed his devotees to create it within the spiritual context, or within our society. Okay, so the next one. Where is this? Where?
Russia.
Russia, the Kremlin. Okay. And read. Someone?
Hello. So sunshine is here in America, in Russia, in India, everywhere. Similarly, this Varnashram system is prevalent everywhere in some form or other. Just like Brahmanas, the Brahmanas means the most intelligent class of men. Brain of the society, then Kshatriyas, the administrative class, then Vaishyas, the productive class, and the Sudras, the worker class. These four classes are everywhere present in different names. And because it is creation by the original creator, it is prevalent everywhere.
Yeah, so Prabhupada's trying to explain, although it may look differently in different cultures around the world, it's still there, although in a very unorganized system. The modern civilization, Prabhupada observed that no one even follows the samskars. Samskars are the rites of passage. There is Dasavida samskara, 10 samskars, or Vivaha samskar, Garbhadan samskara, which is the basic, or the initial samskara, where one brings a child into the world that is developed according to the level of the consciousness of the husband and wife at the time of what we call it. What is that? Conception. Conception. Or, yeah. And so there is a whole system, but no one's following that. So we have a society that is, people bring in children like cats and dogs, like that. And you can see some of the children nowadays, even before then, they don't listen, they don't follow, because people contact or get involved in producing children not as a conceptual act to bring in a child, but as sometimes accidentally, just by physical contact. My friend here writes, and this is the person he writes, he said, "In modern chaos reflects the general quality of the world's population as being born of a bottle of beer on Saturday night." Haribol. Did you catch that? No? Born of a bottle of beer. The sacred act that once called souls into the world in order to give them a chance to develop love of God has now been reduced to some physical act only. So Dasavid Samskar, that's one of them. And the Varnashram system contains within it the duties of each of the Varnas, which includes the essential samskars. Okay, so we go on to the next slide here. So this is Dr. Sadar. Prabhupada writes him a letter.
The variated caste system of present India is never sanctioned by the scriptures, but the real caste system is made by God according to the quality and work of subject, and it was never designed for benefit of accidental birthright.
Yeah. So Prabhupada wanted to make that point, and he wrote to Dr. Sangar. He was the president of India around that same time. Not the prime minister, but the president. Like that. Let me see here. Okay. Okay, so, and of course, Prabhupada didn't get any support. Prabhupada wrote so many letters describing his mission, his need for support, his ideas for development, even for the culture within India. But most people, the leaders, either didn't respond or didn't think his ideas were good, for whatever reason. But Prabhupada was relentless. He never gave up, because he knew what was right, and he knew he would be successful if he continued. Okay, who's that? Looks like he just finished Prashad, right? Okay. And his partner. Okay, let's see if there's any reading for this one. No, there's no reading. Okay, so this represents farcical brahmanas based on birth, though lacking loving service, they approach the Supreme Lord for material benefits, like that. God, I remember just recently, I was hearing about one particular person who discovered some kind of medicine that helps to reawake your memory and makes your mind real sharp And so he was marketing that. And then he was saying, you know, I used it. And then I remembered that I had some inheritance that was due to me. I had forgotten. And so because of that, I received my inheritance. So people approach life in order to get material benefits. Money or some position like that. Doesn't matter, it's east and west, so it's included in both, not just from the west side. Okay, so. Okay, we're stuck on that one. Okay. Okay, so what do we see here? Who's that? That's Radhadesh, yeah. So what this represents is Prabhupada's idea for developing Varnashrama. First principle that he enunciated, and which he did from the very beginning, is full worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that's indicated here. The second was farms. He said this Varnashram system can only be successful on farms. And we'll get into that. Here indicates Varnashram College, an educational system by which the different Varnas would be taught by the Brahminical class within, because when Prabhupada started the movement, he was trying to make everyone Brahmin. He was teaching from that position that actually, not Brahmin by caste, but Brahmin by quality. The qualities of a Brahmana, yes? Oh, yeah, okay. Those qualities are mentioned, of course, in the Bhagavad Gita, and these are the qualities of the mode of goodness. And so, and then that class of persons would eventually be the teachers who would teach the other Varnas in the college atmosphere, like that. So people would come and they would apply for education. Prabhupada made the idea was everyone in the society should go on. And then the Brahmins would teach the different Varnas and evaluate based on the teaching what is the nature of a particular person and how that nature can be used in devotional service. So there are, as the four natures are there, the priestly class, those who have spiritual knowledge, visionaries on how to worship and develop spiritual activities, the administrative class, those who are by nature martial spirited. Prabhupada said we need a group of devotees or a class of devotees who are trained to protect the society, to protect the devotees, to protect the temples, to protect the assets, to protect in other words, Kshatriyas. But that's not the only business of a Kshatriya, is their administrators. They are expert at how to organize devotional activities and also how to expand the devotional activities. The Vaishyas, banking, cow protection, cow care, agriculture, developing farms. And Sudras, of course, will be the assistants. Of course, Prabhupada also mentioned Sudras can also be engaged in arts and crafts, which are also part of, human culture. So that was Prabhupada's idea, to start this Varnashram college. And we did it in one place, that was in Radhadesh, for a while, but then after some time, it, for whatever reason, it didn't last. So, and we'll get into why things fell apart, at least according to that. Prabhupada's idea was plain living, high thinking. Where did he get that one from? Where did he get that statement from? It's from a very noteworthy British poet who's good at British poets. We got a few devotees here from the UK.
Shakespeare?
Huh?
Shakespeare?
Shakespeare? Was he British? No, he wasn't. I think he was Italian, right? Et tu, Brute, remember that? He got killed by Brutus. Yeah. Wadsworth. You studied him in school? No? You didn't go to school? I don't blame.
Switched off. Sorry.
I don't blame you. Okay. Yeah, so Prabhupada picked that up. He liked that, and he applied it to his Varnashram. When Krishna descended to the earth, he lived in this type of environment. And of course, Prabhupada noticed that Krishna also spent time in Dwarka, which, as is described, it was a very pristine city, with a lot of greenery around. Prabhupada's vision was the fruit of a lifetime of preaching. And so now we go to the next slide. And so before 1973, Prabhupada was saying, forget Varnashrama. It's not possible. He didn't put any emphasis. He talked a lot about it, but he said, it's not possible. Society is too topsy-turvy. It's impossible to develop it. Someone read?
Therefore, this is the panacea to engage everyone in Krishna consciousness, chanting Hare Krishna. This is the only remedy. Now you cannot again introduce the system of Varnashrama.
So Prabhupada is saying, Harinam, chant the holy names. That's our process. Purify yourself, go back to Godhead, chant, worship the Supreme Lord, study spiritual knowledge and apply it in your daily life. Forget about this Varnashrama. But that changed. Okay. So then Prabhupada, in these years, really spoke a lot and emphasized Varnashrama. So this is a morning walk. Now there's a very serious look amongst all of the devotees there. Why Prabhupada's now talking about Varnashrama, and before he said forget it. So all of a sudden he's in a different mode now. Completely opposite. Read.
The Varnashrama college has to be established immediately, everywhere, wherever we have got our center. A Varnashrama college should be established.
Yeah. So this was on a morning walk, March 14th, 1974. You can hear it. He's talking to Hridayananda Maharaj. And Maharaj is asking questions and Prabhupada's responding. He's laying out the whole plan for development. And the main thing, not the main thing, but the foremost thing, in order to do it was education. We have to educate the devotees in such a way that they can actually come up to their understanding of how best they can serve the society. And then organize things in a very, according to the 4 needs or 4 activities. And that way we will be a model. Not only a model, but we'll be able to attract the rest of the world to this lifestyle, not from the spiritual point of view, but from the very, what we say, perfect material arrangements for living. That was Prabhupada's idea. And he said, people will come from everywhere just to live in our farms. He said society will eventually start to deteriorate. People will be looking for alternates. We will have that. And he said, this way we can make the whole world Krishna conscious because we have the perfect lifestyle. And then his idea was to bring people in from the Varna, not from the spiritual point, because most people, of course we're preaching, we're doing that, but most people couldn't understand. And we weren't, in relationship to our preaching, few people were joining seriously. And that was during that time. In 1977, the last year Prabhupada was with us.
Varnashram should be established to become Vaishnava. It is not so easy to become Vaishnava. If to become Vaishnava is so easy, why so many fall down? It is not easy to become Vaishnava. Group Conversation number 2, February 14, 1977, Mayapur.
Yeah, that was with Hari Sari Prabhu and Satsrup Maharaj were there. And Prabhupada's making the point, devotees are falling down. Why? Because they're not properly engaged. When people are engaged according to their nature, and then they can excel in their service and also stay fixed in Krishna consciousness. That was Prabhupada's vision. He saw before that, before he said just chant Hare Krishna, but then he also said in another lecture, devotees are chanting Hare Krishna, but still, they're falling down. We need to engage them according to their how best they can be engaged, not only for the society's benefit, but mostly for their benefit. Like that. Any questions? Comments in this night? Yeah. Feel free to ask.
Guru Maharaj, you know those photos where Radha Desh was on there?
Say again?
You know the slide where Radha Desh was on there?
Yeah.
You said there was 4 points, full worship of the Lord, farms, Varnashrama college, and what was the last one?
Srila Prabhupada. You saw the picture of Prabhupada?
Yeah.
He's going to make the final decision after the education is done.
So we have established the schools for Varnashram, but this is actually a question along with the comment. So when we go to the temples for service, I feel somewhere there is a lack of segregation. They are not segregated according to their nature.
Well, we don't pretty much, children you're talking about.
No.
Devotees and coming to temples?
Yes.
Well, we don't segregate anybody. We let everyone come in and worship. Worship is for everyone.
No, I mean everyone comes, but then they have to be engaged according to their nature.
Well, that's the process.
Yeah.
And Prabhupada, how we used to do it, Shruti Kirti Prabhu can give much more information about that than I can, but from my limited understanding is that when it was a particular service that needed to be done, you saw someone who wasn't doing anything and you gave them that service. Who wasn't doing enough. Okay, all right, you're not doing it, can you do this? Can you do that? We need this, so surrender. So the point was to surrender. And so devotees were surrendering, but many of them found it difficult to continue in the service they were doing. And that's what Prabhupada was saying. We need to engage people according to their natures. And that way, not only will they stay fixed in their service, but they'll be very creative in developing their service. I see it all the time when certain people do certain services. There's certain ones that just, they're so creative, they can come up with new ideas, they expand their service, they make it interesting. And others, they have a service and they just barely get it done, and they're just like, I tried, you know. I was just thinking in terms of personal servants, you know. Of course, that's my personal experience, but so this is so that's the way it was. People would come and join, officially join, want to become a devotees. We bring people in. There was no screening in those days. Whoever wanted to come in, chant Hare Krishna. We were bringing people off the streets who were they weren't, you know, doing nothing, and might as well become a Hare Krishna, you know. I can do nothing in a spiritual way. So people were joining, but because of the need, and Prabhupada understood that too. He knew it was an emergency. He needed devotees to cover many services and also expand the preaching. So Prabhupada allowed that to go on, and people just engaged according to what was the necessity, rather than really taking time. But then, in 1974, he said, now we need a system of education for evaluation, and evaluation will help us to understand how best to engage. But this Varnashrama is going on now, even in our society, but in a less organized way. There are many devotees who are working according to their nature in this society. And that's something that has come automatically just by the element of time. But we don't find a very organized sense amongst the four activities where it's more organized within the different temples, the different yatras, the different spiritual places of development. That's what I see anyway. It's not so organized, yes.
So Guru Maharaj, when 1977, Srila Prabhupada was winding up his pastimes, he called Giriraj Maharaj and said, how will this movement continue after I'm gone?
Yeah.
And then, of course, Maharaj answered, and then Srila Prabhupada said, organization and intelligence.
Yeah.
So, when we look at that instruction...
It applies to this.
Right. So, today's world, we see, like now in Bangladesh, how our devotees are getting attacked, killed, etc. It is actually an eye-opener that we urgently need to have defense of innocent devotees in place in order to protect our temples. Just Mayapur, one crazy gunman comes, there'll be a massacre if he lets loose, because the crowd is so much, and one madman can create havoc.
We do have a security system in Mayapur.
Right, we do. But what I'm saying is...
But it's kind of loosely organized.
Right, and they are not equipped, Guru Maharaj, to deal with some serious issues.
No.
No, I'm not trying to say anything specific of Mayapur. I'm trying to say that our whole society needs to work on all these four levels so that all the devotees are protected properly, engaged properly, and are able to serve nicely.
Yeah. You put people with the Kshatriya natures as pujaris, Haribol. And what do? They can't agree on how best to serve the devotees, the deities. They all have their ideas, and each one thinks their ideas should be the one that everyone should adopt. And that's the mood of... The Kshatriyas are leaders. They're leaders. They can't work under anyone. They can work under a system, but they can't work under individuals. So they can lead, and that's their nature. So they lead by organization, they lead by caring for those who are under them, and they also lead by giving protection. So that's their three main services: protection, organization, and the welfare of the devotees in general. Yeah.
Thank you.
So that's one thing that we need to put in place. Prabhupada did put a lot of emphasis on, but he also said now we should also develop the other varnas. He emphasized in the beginning Brahminical culture, because he knew first you have to establish the head before you can really have the body formulated. When there's no head, there's no direction. And he said Western society is cracked head. They got a head, but it's cracked. Yeah, he makes that statement. Yeah, so it's, yeah. And yeah.
Pranam, Guru Maharaj. In my life, I've noticed that the qualities mentioned in 4 Varnashrams can vary, even from individuals.
Four varnas, not
Sorry,
yeah, four varnas, yeah.
Varna, which is Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Sudra.
Yeah.
But even as individual, you start working as a Sudra, develop admin qualities, which changes.
But the thing is, when you're doing devotional service, you're not any of these 4 categories. You're a Vaishnava. But you're serving according to different varnas, or the different activities of the varnas. So this is called Daivi Varnashram, not just Varna, materialistic Varna. So Prabhupada would say, the person who's cleaning the floor is just as good as the person who's worshipping the deity, because devotional service is absolute. So it's not, if we put labels, material labels on devotional activities, then we're making them look like something other than, service to the Lord.
It will help, say, personally, in terms of the qualities to serve.
Well, the quality, that's that Varnashram college is meant to teach. And Prabhupada explains, you can hear. He says the Brahmins will be the teachers. They'll teach others how to fight, how to organize, how to take care of cows. The Brahmins will be the teachers. The collective society of Brahmins. Not one Brahmin has all of the qualities or, knowledge of all of them. Collectively, all of the Brahmins would get together and organize the teachings of the other 3 varnas, the other 2 varnas. Sudras you don't have. Sudra activity you don't have to teach. It's mostly Kshatriyas and Vaishyas. And Prabhupada did establish a society of Brahmins. That's there. Preachers, devotees who are preachers, devotees who can give spiritual advice, can give spiritual direction. Visionaries for expanding the movement. That's the Brahmins.
So, in current times, we can get guidance or knowledge from association of devotees of temples.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean to say is, since Brahmins, Brahmins who were born as Brahmin, some of them don't have the qualities of Brahmin.
Yeah, well then birth is not the indication. It's by guna, activity, not janma, guna, qualities.
So for guna, it would be better to lean to guru or devotees who can give you that direction and not whether he is a Brahmin or not.
Well, yeah, but this is a more systematic development where there's education that's connected with each of the activities. And then, just like, for example, one Gurukul teacher, you can hear it he's talking to Prabhupada, and he's giving an account of what is happening in the Gurukul. It was somewhere in India, I think it was in Hyderabad. And he was saying there's one boy in the class, he disturbs the whole class. He's always making mischief, he's always doing something to disturb the rest of the class. So what should we do with him? Prabhupada said, well, he's not meant for education. Put him on the farm and let him do some work in that way, Prabhupada said. So Prabhupada was concerned that he gets something, but his education, he wasn't able to sit there and actually take it serious to learn. Yeah, so evaluation, that's the point, evaluation. Yeah. Okay.
Hare Krishna,
Maybe we can put this fan on because these flies are... Oh yeah, maybe that's it. Who should I condemn by giving the garland? Giriraj, yeah. The flies will bother him now. Okay. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. So Guru Maharaj, if we are talking about like Varnashrama, 4 Varnas, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudras. So I heard many times in a lecture that Prabhupada said that everyone is a Sudras in Kalika.
Yeah.
So how can we understand?
Education. With education, you can come out of that lower mentality. Prabhupada was talking about the world in general. Kalo Sudra Sambhavan is a statement in the Shastras. And in Kali Yuga, everyone is born Sudra. Therefore, education in order to awaken and evaluation in order to designate people accordingly. You need both, just education and evaluation system. But for the material society, everything's upside down. If you read, there's a nice book, it was called Career Dharma. Does anyone see that book? By Mother Urmila and another lady, her name was Rukmini. 2 ladies got together, and the book's 600 pages. I mean, it's huge. And they're taking the Varnashrama and explaining it in terms of the whole world situation. And how people are motivated not by their particular nature, but by money. So people will take a position because it brings in money. Therefore, people who have certain tendencies may not be working towards those tendencies because the money is not good. They can get better pay here. So everything is upside down in the material world because everything runs on money. Yeah. So for us, education to bring it out.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we can go on to the next slide. Where is that? Okay. We got stuck. Okay.
There are many devotees who are engaged in the engaged in the propagation of Krishna consciousness, and they require help. So even one cannot directly practice the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga, he can try to help such work. Every endeavour requires land, capital, organisation and labour. This voluntary service to the cause of Krishna consciousness will help one to rise to a higher state of love of God, whereupon one becomes perfect.
Yeah. So Krishna mentions that in the 12th chapter, if you can't do this, do this. If you can't do this, do this. And then he finally says, if you can't do anything, just work for me. If you can, higher than surrendering is cultivating knowledge. If you can't cultivate knowledge, perform sacrifice. If you can't do that, So there's the whole 12th chapter is giving concessions for people on different levels. So Prabhupada's point here in bringing this statement out, of course this is is that people in the material world will come to our communities because they're looking for some work, some occupation. And as the society becomes more and more deficient in help and supporting people, we'll have that ideal arrangement where they can come and we'll engage them. And we'll also give them something so they can live. And then being in the environment of devotees, they can also come to Krishna conscious. Prabhupada said, in that way we can make the whole world Krishna conscious. So Prabhupada had many different angles by which he wanted to bring people in, not just through the direct way, but even less direct. Yeah. Okay. Someone read?
So this Krishna consciousness movement is trying to revive village organization as you are trying here. Krishna, in his natural life, is a village bar in Vrindavan. Vrindavan is a village. But it does not mean that we shall avoid city life or town life. No, everything, every place is Krishna's place. Everywhere there should be Krishna consciousness.
So Prabhupada was not just, he said we should start it on the farms, but that doesn't mean we exclude the city environment also. So he was also saying that, yeah, city life and town life also can be organized according to Varna and Ashram. But he said in order to get it started and then develop it and to attract others, the farms are ideal. Okay, what is it?
So, Grandma, city life is not that conducive for Varnashram system? Is that?
No, it can be also. You can do it in the cities also. You have the four Varnas. They, as Prabhupada told Professor Katastri in Russia, this Varnashram system is worldwide. It's there. All you have to do is put it together, organize it. Mm-hmm.
I remember several years ago, when I was in New Taliban several years ago, there was a devotee who had taken up a job as a police officer because that was his nature.
Mm-hmm.
And even on Sunday feasts, you could see that nature. Every 10-15 minutes, he would get up, he would look around everywhere to make sure the kids are okay, everything is all right. He would walk around the periphery, make sure nobody strange is around. So you could tell that this person is a real Kshatriya by his nature. And I was thinking that like this, there might be so many young men who are so inclined, and if we can give them this training, then our temples will be protected from attacks by...
That's one aspect of it. But the whole society, people will be happily engaged in Krishna consciousness. When you work according to your nature, you're really inspired. When you work out of duty, you can also be inspired. And on the highest platform, when you're a pure devotee, you can do anything and still be fully Krishna conscious. But that's a process. It's not, you just don't jump to that level of pure, where you'll surrender to everything at any time, in any place, in any situation. You might do that, but to continue in that service will be difficult in the long run. Therefore, when you're working according to your natural tendencies, like there's some people who, you know, we see it all the time. There's people who like to read and study and preach, and others would rather do, you know, very active services. And then you see others, they're They like to be around cows or farms or, agriculture or gardens. You see that, but it's not organized. That's where we're lacking. Yeah, just like when we were attacked in New Vrindavan in 1973, Srila Prabhupada called one devotee, his name was Uddarata, and he was a Green Beret Marine, he was in Vietnam, and he was a fighter. He couldn't do any other service. So he came and he trained us how to fight. This was in New Vrindavan, and we were learning how to fight with guns. We were doing martial art, we were doing like left, right, marching and everything. I just got out of the army, I'm thinking, oh my God, not again. I joined the Hare Krishna movement to get into the Second Army, And it was just like, but it was needed because we were attacked. And one time, before that happened, Uddarata was with Prabhupada. And he had this energy, really like fighting energy, like, he wanted some action all the time. So Prabhupada got down and started doing push-ups. He said, every time you feel like that, just do this. And Prabhupada was doing push-ups. Because he knew he couldn't find outlet for his, his nature all the time. But there were many times when we needed such persons. Just like when we were attacked in Germany, he was there. It was on Janmashtami. I can't remember what year it was. It was I think it was in Heidelberg, or it was in Hamburg, Germany. And the Janmashtami festival was just over. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. Everybody had just finished prasadam. And these bikers, really heavy-duty guys, they had their bikes and they crashed right into our storefront, broke the window, and started attacking the devotees. And everybody kind of got up after being, resting for about a half hour, an hour. But Uddarata was there. And he pushed everybody aside and said, just sit down. And he just finished all 3 of them off. 2 ran, and one of them never got up again. Of course, we had to ship him out of there because it was a problem. But he alone took care of these 3 big guys, alone, nobody else. So there are people who have that nature. And I know, I work with some of them. We're trying to develop something in Mayapur now. And I think Mahaprabhu can tell you a little bit about that. He's not directly involved, but he knows what's going on in terms of how that's being developed in Mayapur now. So yeah, that's necessary. Especially in Kali Yuga, where there are so many situations where anything could happen. Anything. So that's just one aspect. But we want people who know how to take care of cows, who actually like cows, who know agriculture, who know farming, who can